What if I told you your biggest problem isn't your aim, it's your sensitivity? And these 5 mistakes that mess up your gameplay from the inside, and most players don't even realize their bad aim, shaky recoil, or weird scope feeling is all coming from sensitivity mistakes. And the worst part? No one actually explains these deadly mistakes. So in this video, I'm breaking down the top 5 sensitivity mistakes no one tells you. And once you fix them, your spray will instantly feel smoother, your aim will get more consistent, and you'll win more fights. So let's get straight into it. Mistake number 1, not customizing sensitivity for different guns. Let's start with one of the biggest mistakes that almost every player makes, and that is using the same sensitivity for every single gun in the game. Bro, this just doesn't work. Every gun in PUBG Mobile has its own recoil style. For example, the M416 has low recoil and a very smooth spray. It feels easy to control and perfect for long-range tracking. But then you pick up an AKM, and suddenly it's a different story. That thing kicks like a monster. It has massive vertical recoil, and if you use the same sensitivity as your M4, the gun will just start flying up and ruin your aim completely. And then there's the UMP, which is totally different again. It has super low recoil, but it shoots slower and has a more reactive feel. If your sensitivity is too high, the UMP will feel over-flicky, and you'll keep missing side-to-side movements. So what's the solution? Simple. Stop using one-size-fits-all sensitivity. Pro players never do that. They adjust their sensitivity based on the guns they use the most, so every weapon feels natural in the hand. If you're someone who mainly plays with M416 and UMP, then go for a stable and medium sensitivity, both camera and gyro. But if your playstyle includes AKM, barrel, or M762, those heavy-hitting guns, you'll need to slightly reduce your gyroscope and ADS sensitivity to control that big recoil. You don't have to set a different value for every gun in the game, but at least customize your setup for your main loadout. This one simple change will instantly make your sprays smoother, reduce random shaking, and give you more control in mid and close-range fights. So if your recoil feels different every time you change guns, this might be the reason. Fix it, and your gameplay will level up fast. Mistake number 2, changing sensitivity too often without mastering one. Now, this is easily the most common mistake I see in the PUBG community. Players keep switching their sensitivity again and again, expecting instant results. They try a new code from YouTube or Instagram, play 2 or 3 matches, and the moment they miss a few sprays, they think, this sensitivity isn't working, and they switch to another one. That's not how it works. You can't just expect to pick a new setup and become a laser beam on day 1. The truth is, even the best sensitivity in the world won't feel perfect if your fingers aren't used to it. That's why mastering your sensitivity is so important. Mastering means training your muscle memory, building that automatic control so your aim moves naturally without thinking. But here's the thing, if you change your sensitivity every other day, your hands never get the chance to adjust. Your fingers stay confused, and your aim stays inconsistent. It's like learning to drive a new car every day. You'll never get smooth with it. What you need to do is find a solid base setup that feels decent overall, even if it's not perfect, and stick to it. Practice daily with that same setup for at least 5 to 7 days. Spend time in the training ground, do car sprays, close-range fights, long-range taps. Build that memory in your hands. In the beginning, you will miss some shots. That's totally normal. But if you keep grinding with that one setup, your control will get better day by day. That's how pro players build consistency. They don't change every week. They stick to one setup, make small adjustments only when needed, and master their movement and spray. So bro, stop chasing new codes every day. Pick one, put in the time, and your gameplay will level up naturally. Mistake number 3, using the same sensitivity for camera and ADS. This mistake messes up so many players, and the worst part, they don't even realize it. On the surface, your aim might feel smooth until you start spraying, and suddenly your recoil feels too heavy, your crosshair shakes, or your bullets fly above the enemy. The problem? You're probably using the exact same sensitivity for both camera and ads. And bro, that's a big no-no if you want better control. See, camera sensitivity is what controls how fast you can look around when you're not firing, like when you're peeking, moving your head, or just looking at the area around you. It feels smooth, light, and easy, but the moment you press that fire button, your ADS sensitivity takes over, and that's what controls your aim while firing. Now, if your ADS and camera sensitivity are the same, it might feel balanced in theory, but in reality, your spray control becomes stiff or too slow. Why? Because your fingers were used to that soft and smooth movement, but now they're fighting against weapon recoil, and they need that extra push. That's why you should always keep your ADS sensitivity a little higher than your camera sensitivity. That small increase gives your aim the boost it needs to keep the crosshair steady during a full spray. It makes tracking enemies easier, helps you stay locked in while they're moving, and just makes your spray feel more natural overall. Pro players know this trick. They don't keep the same number for both. They use that little ADS boost to balance out the gun's kick and keep their aim locked on target. So if your aim feels great while looking around but turns shaky during fights, this is probably the reason. Go into your settings right now, separate your camera and ADS values, give your ADS a small bump up, and feel the difference in your spray control. It's a tiny change that makes a huge impact. Mistake number 4, not practicing on the training ground. Here's a mistake that almost every player makes. They change their sensitivity settings and instantly jump into ranked matches without testing anything. Bro, that's like adjusting your car's steering wheel and heading into a high-speed race without even checking if it turns properly. If you change your sensitivity, you need to test it first. And that's where the training ground or cheer park becomes your best friend. Don't just guess and hope for the best. Go in and try your main guns. Test your red dot, your 3X, your 6X, practice crouch sprays, jiggle fights, quick scope ins, everything. This is where you'll find out if your red dot is too low, or if your 6X gyro needs to go up by 5 points. These are tiny adjustments, but they make a huge difference when you're actually fighting in real matches. And the best part? Training ground is where you build something called muscle memory. That's when your fingers start reacting automatically. You're not thinking about pulling down or controlling recoil. It just happens because you've practiced it so much. That only comes when you repeat the same movements again and again. You don't need to spend hours. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day is enough to train your spray, get used to your new sensitivity, and sharpen your reflexes. And honestly, this small habit will help you improve way faster than just playing random classic matches and hoping your aim feels right. So if you just changed your sensitivity and your sprays are missing, it's not the sensitivity's fault. It's your lack of practice. Go hit the training ground, warm up, feel the aim, make adjustments, and then jump into matches. Pro players always do this, and now you should too. Mistake number 5, believing one sensitivity works for everyone. And finally, bro, let's talk about the biggest might in PUBG Mobile sensitivity. The idea that there's one perfect sensitivity code that works for everyone. Let me tell you straight, that doesn't exist. Every player has a different setup, and that changes everything. Your device, your screen size, your FPS, whether you use gyroscope or not, how many fingers you use, and even your own play style. All of that affects how a sensitivity feels to you. A 4-finger gyro player on a 90 FPS iPad will need a totally different sensitivity than a 2-finger non-gyro player on a 60 FPS Android phone. And yet so many players just copy a code from a pro or a content creator and expect it to feel perfect, and when it doesn't, they get confused. Bro, copying is fine as a starting point, but that's just step 1. What you need to do is tune your sensitivity based on how your aim feels. If your spray keeps going too high, your gyro is probably too strong. Lower it a bit. If your camera feels sluggish when looking around, increase the camera sensitivity. If your red dot feels too stiff, bump up the ADS. These small adjustments make a huge difference. And that's what PRO players actually do. They don't just use some random numbers, they fine-tune their settings until every gun, every spray, and every movement feels natural. That's how you build a sensitivity that fits you, not someone else. So stop chasing perfect codes online and start building your own sensitivity setup. Trust me, that's when your aim will feel 10 times better. So bro, these are the 5 sensitivity mistakes that most players don't even realize they're making. Fixing them doesn't require skills. It just needs awareness and a bit of smart testing. And if you're still confused about your full setup, don't worry. I've already made full videos on sensitivity settings, how to use attachments for recoil, a complete jiggle guide, and a full breakdown of how to connect headshots. Just click on any of the videos showing up on the screen, and I'll see you there. Let's fix your aim and win more fights.